Hello, hello. It is your favorite Mexican in Germany, Vanessa MW. And today we are talking about what it means to be a solo female traveler moving abroad, chasing your dreams, living your best life. We're actually going to have my friend Courtney the Explorer. I just saw her jump in. And we're going to be talking about her move to Mexico, what it means to be abroad. And then, of course, like, what does it look like when you're moving abroad by yourself for the very first time? Oh, there she is. Hello.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi. Oh, what a beautiful background. It's like real and stuff.
This is real life. Doesn't it look like a Zoom background?
It does. It does. And like mine's so heavily curated. It's nice to see someone outside. Where are you calling us from?
I'm actually on a road trip and I'm in Guanajuato,
Okay. Where is
Mexico.
that on the map? I'm a bad Mexican.
So it's about, what did we drive? Like 12 hours from Puerto Vallarta. So it's in the mainland.
Mm.
It's like north of Mexico City. It's
Mhm.
like by San Miguel de
Mhm.
Allende.
Mhm. Okay, well, make sure you stop before you get to the border because that's where my family's from, and that is not very nice or safe. So, all of your pictures are so beautiful, especially the
Thank
reel
you.
you posted yesterday of you
Oh my
like
gosh, tequila.
majestically in the aloe vera plants, were they?
Agave, yeah.
Yes, there we go.
I love
Whoops. Well, thank you so much for coming on to Wander Onwards to talk about being a solo female traveler, as someone who moved abroad by herself, and also being a queer traveler, which is always something that I like to have discussions on because we need more representation in this industry. Could you give everyone a little intro about yourself, your brand, and why you moved abroad?
Definitely. So I quit my job to travel about 7 years ago, and it was never the intention to be a travel blogger. I just wanted to enjoy life.
Seems
So
fair.
I had the story that I've told a million times is that I studied abroad in Brazil right before I was about to graduate college, and I had the resume, the internships, like everything lined up. And I studied abroad in Brazil, and we had like a week break, and I stayed at this youth hostel for the first time. I didn't even know what a hostel was at the time, and I met the women that changed the course of my life. Like, I'm not
Wow.
even trying to be dramatic. I feel like I was brought there by the universe.
Mm,
And because I was like searching for, like, I was like, okay, this doesn't feel right. Like, this path is like okay, but it doesn't feel right. And I met women that were traveling for like a year by themselves, and those women gave me permission to do what I'm doing today. And I literally owe those women everything, and it's part of the reason why I do what I do as well.
mhm. And who were these mystical unicorns? Like, I'm sure all of us want to go track them down too.
No, it was this Israeli woman with the
Mhm.
deepest, soothing voice in her
Mhm.
mid-30s that had quit her job to backpack the world. And she was like, just back in her chair, smoking a cigarette, like, girl, you have to live your life. And I was like, I believe I'll do it. Like, I came home and I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to travel the world. And they were like, okay, you can fund it. Like, if you can figure it out, sure. But you're kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, all the best stories are someone thought I was crazy, so I did X, Y, and Z. And where are you originally from in America, by the way?
Chicago.
Chicago? Okay, Chi-town. Love the Wiener Circle. Might have gotten food poisoning from there, but that's fine. Yeah, I know. It's not a very common like narrative for a girl from Chicago to pick up and move to Latin America. Where was your first move?
So so again, I studied abroad in Brazil, and after being in Brazil and learning, I stayed with a Brazilian family, and
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I can't learn Portuguese. Like, this is such a beautiful language, but it really inspired me to learn Spanish.
Mm.
Um, And so I wanted to go back to South America and I wanted to learn Spanish. So my first trip was like, I'm like, okay, I'll take a baby step. Let me take a 3-month backpacking trip. And I went to like 4 countries. I started in Peru. I did Peru, Colombia, Bolivia. I did like the Machu Picchu, like
Amazing.
that whole like South America backpacker trip. And then I came home and I was like, 3 months is nothing. Like it sounds like a long time initially, but I was like, no, I need to do like a year. So yeah.
So you first went to Latin America and just bounced around. Where did you settle eventually? In Mexico a couple years ago, recently?
Yeah, so my first trip again was like 2016 is when I did my first trip. And then my second trip, I lived in Guatemala in Mexico. I mostly traveled Mexico, but I was doing kind of like a slow travel thing. So I lived in Antigua, Guatemala for like 3 months. And then I stayed in San Cristobal, Mexico for another 2 months. Like I just moved, had like a home base, and I would move around really slowly and try to, I lived with like a lot of locals. I did a lot of like work exchange just so I could learn Spanish and really get to know each country.
And for those of you who don't know what work exchange is, it's a variety of things. So it's not just one thing. So a common one is exchanging your labor at a hostel for a bed and food, and then you practice your languages and you host people at that hostel. What type of work labor did you do? Work exchange labor. There you go.
Vanessa, I did literally everything.
Oh, tell me about it.
I love the variety. I'm a person where I get bored. So my first work exchange, it's so random. In Antigua, Guatemala, I was caretaking, but I was really a live-in best friend for an 86-year-old English woman. Okay. And I lived in her home. She lived in a gorgeous home in the middle of Antigua, Guatemala. And I literally just had tea with her. I had breakfast, lunch with her. And I helped her like organize her room a little bit, just like the most random tasks. But the big thing was just, she wanted a friend and someone to like, you know, cause she's old, like sometimes you just need someone there, like if something were to happen, but she had a full staff too. So I was just really her friend, and it was amazing.
So that is awesome. And this is a real thing. Like you can get paid to be people's pseudo friends abroad. I was paid $50 an hour to play video games with a lonely teenager in China. And I would do that 3 times a week for 2 hours, like take home $300 in cash every week. And like funding your travels can be creative, y'all. How did you find that best friend opportunity, and how did you feel safe doing it?
It honestly, it made me feel so safe. So that was my second trip. And that was when I'm like, okay, I'm going to move abroad for a long period of time. I was thinking like a year. And so doing the work exchange, I found it off of workaway.info. And you pay a really small fee for a membership for a year. And by paying the fee, you're just showing that you're serious about it and you're like a real person and all of that stuff. So what made me feel so safe, and it was kind of a baby step into moving abroad, was because someone knew I was going to come into Guatemala City at this time, and I had an address to go to and someone expecting me. And it was like that baby step that I really needed to like gain the courage and take that big leap, you know?
What's one piece of advice you give to our solo female travelers who are watching this live?
Oh my gosh, take the leap.
Yes.
I'm literally going to have that on my gravestone, like, book the ticket.
Absolutely.
So I always say, like, no amount of preparation will prepare you to backpack or move abroad. Literally nothing. So you really have to, like, book the ticket. You have to take the first step. And along the way, in 7 years, I've learned so much, and I made so many mistakes. Like to Guatemala, I literally went to the airport on the wrong day.
Like, I hope it was before and not after.
It was after.
No.
And it's like those things, like, if you're thinking about doing this, I just want to give you the confidence that like everything somehow magically works out. It's crazy, but like the woman at the ticket booth is like, let me take you under your wing and like help you change your ticket. Like, we will figure this out together. Like, the nicest woman. And those like they're literally angels. They show up on your trip every time something goes wrong. Like, you are taken care of. So
I couldn't agree with that more, but I will disagree that there is one thing that can prepare you to move abroad and go traveling, and that's the Wander Onwards Masterclass, How to Move Abroad. So, just a subtle plug there. Yeah, 6 weeks course, dropping again in June, but anyway.
Oh, I love that.
So I have a very similar story. I broke up with a boyfriend on a trip in China, and I went to the airport the wrong day thinking that it was my time to leave. No, it was for the next day. And I just started crying to the man behind the ticket counter, being like, me and my boyfriend broke up and I have nowhere to sleep. I need to go home to Beijing now. And he let me on the flight, no charge, like just my little fairy godfather. So people are willing to help when you're on the road, especially as a woman. Are there any like myths that you want to bust while we're here talking about being a solo female going abroad?
Well, just living in Mexico, I'd like to bust the myth that Mexico's dangerous.
Yes.
I think that a lot of people think that Guatemala, you don't know, like hundreds of people, like everyone's aunt wanted to message me and tell me that Guatemala is dangerous. And I feel so safe in Latin America, in all of these countries that are quote unquote dangerous. The United States is dangerous. Chicago is dangerous. I feel way more afraid for my safety in the United States than I do in Mexico. So.
I think that is such the gospel truth. I agree. The only place I've ever been in real danger has been in America, where I was held up at gunpoint in my hometown. Yeah, I've been to 50 countries. I travel all the time by myself. I'm getting on a plane tomorrow by myself. The most dangerous place I've ever been is America. Hands down. How did you prepare for your move abroad from like a logistics standpoint? So did you like find a specific backpack that was 20 liters big? What did you do?
Yeah, so I'm definitely the list person, and on my first trip, I worked a 9 to 5 for 6 months before I quit, and I literally printed out packing lists. I definitely am. Like, I'm an Aries, so I'm all about taking the lead, but I'm also a Capricorn moon, so I'm very organized.
Yes.
Like, low key, I do have lists. I have packing lists. I read loads of blogs. I, you know, like I have preparation like 1 month before, 1 week before, like 1 month before I'll order all my things off Amazon or whatever, just to have all of those things. I got a Charles Schwab International credit card. Like, I definitely read digital nomad blogs and things like that to prepare me, I think.
And so you said that you break things up into months and chunks. And so this week I just dropped like my own checklist about how to move abroad internationally, and it's on my Etsy store, link in bio. But I think the important thing about breaking down a move abroad is to understand that things need to happen like simultaneously. So when your visa is applied for 3 months before you leave, you should also be applying for that Charles Schwab bank account. So staying organized, like Courtney mentioned, is your best bet. We had a question. How is the COVID vibe down in Mexico right now?
Yeah, everyone's wearing masks. It's a hard question. It's completely different energy than in Chicago than here. I think in Chicago I was very, very anxious because it's just an anxious energy. But in Mexico, it's like people are taking the certain precautions and everyone's pretty safe. Yeah, I would just obviously take necessary precautions, like wear a mask, all of those things you guys already know.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier in more open and natural environments because like you're
Exactly.
outside on a balcony, like you're going to be fine. When we're underground in the London Tube, like that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Exactly.
So I think the practical advice you gave was fantastic. What about being queer and being abroad in Mexico and just like the vibe of the queer community abroad in general?
So to keep it 100, I moved to the gayest city in Mexico. Like there are gay resorts, gay, everything's gay. There's a gay neighborhood. Like it, Chicago's pretty gay friendly city. No, Puerto Vallarta takes it to a new level, and I am just living my best gay life here. And there's literally rainbow flags everywhere. There's queer couples. Again, it's a huge vacation spot for LGBTQ plus couples. So
Mhm.
every single day, I'm just seeing gay couples, and it just feels so free. I just feel so seen, you know? It's just
Yeah.
so nice to be surrounded by that energy, especially coming out like within the last year. I just really needed to be in this space.
Mm.
So.
Being with other people who understand you, can identify with you. I know I'm missing that in Germany right now. We have a question. If you plan on only staying for less than 6 months, do you still recommend taking out a visa? Um, for my from my perspective, it depends on what you want to accomplish and do where you are. So if you want to become a long-term resident down the line, you should start that visa clock. If you can't stay for longer than 3 months and you want to stay 6 months, you're going to need a visa to figure that out. But if you're just there on a tourist visa hanging out, I don't really see why you would need one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on a tourist visa and it's 6 months. Like,
Mm,
I am still in the space of like nomadic life.
mm,
And so I don't plan to stay anywhere longer than a year. So it's not something that's popped up for me.
mm.
But when I do, like for Mexico specifically, I know people do like border runs and stuff. I don't know if I can say that, but
You can, because
okay.
you're explaining what other people do practically. I think we toe the line of dangerous visa activities. I did visa runs in China. Like I would leave for a day, come back, reset my visa because I didn't have a choice and I didn't know any better and I didn't know there were other options. So if you want a frank conversation about what it takes to stay abroad sometimes, you can DM us for not live
Exactly.
appropriate conversations. Can I ask you, how do you pay for everything? Like, what's your gig?
Yeah, so I'll be frank, the first 6 years of my nomadic life, I was doing an anti-sabbatical.
Hmm.
So instead of taking a break from work, I would take a break from travel to like serve or bartend, or I taught online for a little bit. Just anything I could do that would make me money and book me a plane ticket. And then I traveled for extremely cheap. So that was
Mm,
my vibe for the first 6 years. And then I approached my 30s and I'm like, okay, let's think of like something more sustainable. So
mm,
I started making money off my blog, which kind of
mm.
just happened organically. And now I do freelance work and I now identify as a digital nomad. So I'm living in that space.
Well, good for you. Women deserve money. Like we deserve wealth and abundance, even if we're not working the 9 to 5 in our hometowns. So I applaud you, and I encourage other people to do the same because, as you heard from Courtney earlier, she was using work exchanges to give herself housing. She used online teaching or bartending to pay herself with cash and to have disposable income. You can create a life for yourself that's different from what you expected. What are the three most popular expat jobs in Latin America?
Oh gosh. There are a lot of online English teachers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a lot of travel bloggers. I have met a lot of travel bloggers. And then there's a lot of people in like the coaching world as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of
Freelancer.
entrepreneurial spirits.
Oh yeah, everyone's an entrepreneur. I have met a couple people with like remote like 9 to 5 jobs. I met an accountant the other day. So there's like a little spice of everything. Like everyone's doing their own thing, like owning it, and I love it. So
Yeah, so you can do the digital nomad thing. You could have something more traditional. I do both. So I work in tech 9 to 5, and then I come here and or home and do my wander onwards, and I don't sleep. So if that sounds good to you guys,
woo!
shout out to me. But I think it really
I love
it allows me to travel, and because my blog and my side hustle is paying for it without sacrificing my long-term financial plans. And you mentioned you're now in the holy 30s kind of age. Do you have different dreams for yourself moving into the second half of your life that were different to the first half?
Yeah, so in my 20s, again, I allowed myself to be so broke. I couch surfed, I would just sleep anywhere for the story and for the adventure, and I just like lived for that.
Yeah.
But when I started getting in my later 20s and now 30, you know, I'm booking Airbnbs. I'm like, just I need space. And I think that comes with age. You just like, yeah, I enjoy the finer things now. I'm like, let me take myself out for a nice dinner, like after working so hard. You know, I love the freedom of treating myself now, and having more financial freedom is definitely, it's nice.
I couldn't agree more. I was broke as a joke back in the day. I slept on anyone's floor who would let me.
Yes.
I remember I knew a guy from college who moved to the Philippines for Fulbright, and I just messaged him like, "Hey, could I come? I'm coming to the Philippines. Could I stay with you? I didn't book the ticket yet." And he said yes. And so he had this like studio apartment that is smaller than my current bedroom right now, and I slept on the floor. And that saved me a bunch of money, and I got to visit the Philippines and have that experience, and it was totally worth it. Now, not so much, but that's okay. That's fine. We have another question about expenses. What would you say is the average cost of living in Mexico and then just in Latin America as you backpack through?
So it is extremely affordable from an American standpoint. I won't say for locals is a different story, but just a few numbers. My apartment that I'm living at with a pool is $266 a month in Puerto Vallarta. Yes, I am 2 minutes from the beach, and I have a pool for $266 a month, living comfortably. My monthly expenses range from 500 to 1,000, depending on how fancy I'm feeling. But
I feel that. I just spent $250 on my cat today. So that really hit me on the inside. That really did. I think it's important to recognize that not every country has such an amazing, affordable lifestyle, aka Germany, where I'm at, where your income could make up half your rent. In Munich, at least, which is bananas. What about when you traveled and you were living on a hostel budget? How per week, what would that cost you?
okay, let's see. I traveled for about $25 a day, which was like $500 a month.
Damn. So that's food, accommodation, doing stuff.
Everything.
Damn.
And taking the occasional like excursion, like definitely hostel rooms. I remember I stayed in this hostel with like a pool. It was like but then you're staying in a dorm with 12 beds for like $7 a night. It's extremely affordable in especially like in the middle of South America, and Central America is also very affordable. You can definitely do $25 a day easily.
That's
Europe is
awesome.
more like $dollars a day, I think, if you're traveling on a shoestring.
Yeah, you can definitely do Europe quite cheaply. I'm going to Tenerife tomorrow, which is a Canary Islands. So that's like an autonomous Spain colony, former colony off the coast of Africa. I got a penthouse Airbnb for $100 a night. like 3 stories, like in the city center, beach in front, because I've been just like getting really frustrated with my life here in Germany. My German's not that great. The pandemic hit 2 days before I arrived. And so I was like, you know what? I haven't spent any money on travel. Let's go live it up a little bit. Let's go live it up.
House.
Yes. But if you wanted to be normal, you could go to Tenerife and stay at a perfectly like reasonable Airbnb for $40 a night, and you could get a 1-bedroom Airbnb. What's your favorite place in Latin America?
Cali, Colombia. For salsa dancing.
Really? Okay.
Part of the reason, most of the reason, again, I wanted to learn Spanish, but I also just love Latin music and dancing. And my lifelong dream is to become a professional salsa dancer. It's not happened yet, but I got a taste in Cali, Colombia, and just like, I'm all about energy, and yeah, the energy of the space is just like, and friendly people. So Cali, Colombia was everything, and just amazing dancing. And then I would have to say, I know I've mentioned this 50 million times, Antigua, Guatemala is like home. And then Puerto Vallarta is getting there as well. I love it. I love it.
Have you ever thought about tricking a local, getting married, and never leaving? Because that's what I did.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Okay. Yeah, well, so I went a little bit in reverse. I found a German in China, and then I was like, you're in love with me now. Here's some spicy food that your women can't make. You should marry me. And it all worked out. Can I be a little intrusive? Because we're wrapping up or coming to the end of our live. Can I know a little bit about the dating scene for you in Latin America and as a solo female traveler?
Let's just say it's not hard to get a date. Tinder is very much so alive. The dating scene is very spicy, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is spicy because there's so many different people from all over the world with the most amazing stories, cultures, habits. Like, dating American men was the biggest scam for me, and I fortunately figured it out when I was 18, and then exclusively dated the international students that would come to my university. And I was like, I'm gonna trick one of them and get a passport. Do you exclusively date a certain person from a certain area?
Okay, long term, I'm gonna be super honest. I'm banking on marrying a European as well.
Okay, fair play, fair play.
Yeah, putting that out first. She's maybe from Spain or
okay.
Germany.
Yeah. Well, when that lucky lady comes into your life, trap her, and then come on down to Munich and we can hang out finally in person, IRL.
I would love that.
So we are at the end of our live. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you tell everyone where to find you? And do you have any projects or launches that are coming up?
Yeah, definitely. So my blog is courtneytheexplorer.com, and you can find me mostly active on Instagram. And I also have a YouTube channel, Courtney the Explorer. And I am posting Mexico content and LGBTQ plus content on YouTube. And my blog.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, I have so many people to refer to you. I'm so glad I found you. And thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I had so much fun.
Yeah, me too. We're going to continue gossiping in the DMs. Don't you worry. Thank you so much, Courtney. And I will see you on the internet. Bye.